Hey, what's up you guys? It is Aaron from Aaron Thinks Different and welcome to my very first YouTube tutorial on ReactJS. I'm pretty new to React as well, but I just discovered a pretty good solution for a problem that I had many days in a row because I was searching whole Google for a solution for this, and after a lot of research I came to a pretty easy solution for that, I think so. Let me explain what we're going to do in this tutorial. We're going to pass data from user input from one screen to the other screen with just using React and React Router. You don't need any other libraries like Redux or React Native. This whole stuff only works because the React router we're using, or the component of the router, will prevent the page from a reload by clicking on continue. It's harder to explain this in theoretical way, so I'm just going to show you how this whole thing is going to build up and how this will work. And maybe you already had the same problem and are searching for a solution, and yeah, so I will think I have the right solution for you. I won't explain to you how to install React and how to run your first React app, because I think there are so many good tutorials online on YouTube or Google or wherever you're going to search for them. So after installing it and running it the first time, you will have a code like this. This is going to be our app.js file, which is in the source folder. If you're going to run it and you're going to click on your browser, you will receive something like this. Okay, back to our app. We don't need this whole head tag, so we're going to delete everything and that's within. And then we're going to delete the import logo. Before importing the React router components that we're going to need in this tutorial, you have to install router as well as React itself, and there are several good tutorials online as well, so I won't explain it to you because I want to keep this tutorial pretty short. After installing it, now we're going to import the components from the router we are going to need. So we just imported our library and the components we're going to need. We're going to need browser, router, route, and switch. Pretty simple. Now we're declaring our browser and our browse router, and it's pretty simple. First you have to open the browser router component. Inside of that we're going to open a switch component. Inside the browser component we are going to write the switch component for switching between the different routes, and inside of them we are going to declare our routes. The first route we're going to say is path root of our project, and this is going to be the first one, and just for better explanation reasons I'm going to call this component first. Close it. And then we're going to make the second route, and in this path I will name it second, and it will have the component to show second. Close it. And this is going to be everything which is set up in the app.js file. And now it's compiling, and now it will say, okay, first and second is not defined, which is pretty obvious because we did neither import it nor we just wrote the JS file itself. But to keep things in track, we're going to import the files which are not written yet, but we're going to write them later on. So what we just did, we imported both components, the first and the second, and now we're going to actually create them. So I made another folder inside of our source folder, and it's called component. And inside of the component I'm going to create the first component, which we're going to call first.js in here. And to start off in our first.js file we're going to import React, and the React component from React. And then we're going to import the link component from our router. because we're going to need the link component later on our first JS file. Then we're going to declare the class. So this is going to return just this div with a text of I am the first one. Pretty simple so far, and now we're going to make our second component, which we will be calling second.js, and you can actually copy and paste the one thing that you did here, but we don't need to import the link component from our router here. Going to name this second and this second as well, and I am the second one. Okay, after saving all three files here, and we're going back to our browser, we're going to see the first component rendered here, I am first. And if we're going to switch up here our URL to second, it will say I am the second one. Okay, pretty easy so far. So we used the switch and the route to come to the path we want to show up on screen with the right components. But what we are going to do now is we want to let the user input something on the first screen, and then we're going to pass the input to the second screen without using any further libraries. So in our first component, first.js, I'm going to declare a variable, and I'm going to call it data, which we will pass to the next page or to the next component. And the data is going to be an array. It's going to be an array. Inside of this array, we are going to declare an object. Inside the object, we're only going to call name, and name is empty by now. And we want the user to fill up the name of the object. Okay, for that we are going to write a small function, and the function is going to be in our component, and we will call it something like store name. It will going to be event array function, and then we're going to call our array in first place, and we're going to say the name equals event.target.value. So basically all we're going to do is, if this one is triggered up here, we're going to fill the event target value, like something the user types inside our input field, which we're going to declare later on, will be stored in this part, which is actually this one here. So last but not least, we're going to declare our input So this is going to be the input, and now if we're going to save this one and come to our root, I'm the first one, name, and then the user can type in any name he wants to. By now nothing will happen. After declaring the input field, we are going to say that every input the user will type inside will be stored up here, and this will work by calling this onChange event. This dot store name. So it's basically saying if you change something, this will happen, and this is what we declared before. Okay, by now we just triggered this function on here. And last but not least, we're going to use the link component from router. Basically what the link component does, it prevents the browser from a refresh of the page by clicking on continue, and by clicking continue on a tag, normally the stored name will be deleted because we refresh everything and the data as well. But by using the link tag or by using the link component from router, it will prevent the refresh, but it will actually change the path from our root, which we declared in our app.js, to the second. And last but not least, it will store the data, which we declared just up here, and put the name inside here. It will pass it to the next page. So we're actually done on our first page, and now we're going to declare the data that will be passed in the first.js to the second.js. So we're going to declare a const, an object called data, and you can call this whatever you want to call this, and then we're going to say this.props.location, and by doing this we will fill the props from here inside of this object. And now we can display the input from the user from the first page up here. So, and again, we just declared this const here with a data object, and you can call it whatever you want to call it, and inside of this I already explained you that. And now we can just display the data the user passes from the one screen to the other screen. And this will work like this. Now you can see we're on the root page. I'm the first one, and now the user can type in any name. And by clicking on continue, it says Aaron thinks different on the second screen. Without a refresh, but you have to keep in mind that this is only a client-side solution, so we won't store any of the content or the input or the data on the server. We are just passing it from one screen to the other. Pass me, continue, pass me. So I hope I could help you a little bit with this tutorial and that you understand everything that I tried to explain to you. If so, and if you like this tutorial, just give it a thumbs up, and if you have any feedback or anything, just write it down in the comments below or to my Twitter. You can stay tuned for more tutorials on React, JavaScript, HTML and CSS. If you want to, you can subscribe because it's for free, just as you know. Okay, thank you for watching, and maybe to the next time. Bye!